Yeah, so the thing with life, just cross checking to ensure that you guys can get my voice and also see me, so you can see my screen. See. To ensure that you guys can get my voice. Nice one. Okay, so welcome guys, welcome. Get ready, we're about to start. Tell Monday fine today. I'm doing good. Let's do this for the culture. Let's do this for the culture, guys. So I'm sure I'm live on YouTube. Let me just cross check that before we move ahead. Yes, we're live on YouTube. Great, let's go, guys. So once again, my name is Dr. Nkeng Stephens, aka Mr. We Take Another Shot, and you're welcome to my live color grading masterclass. Um, Today, date of today. Today is February the 6th, 2026. I'm live in Maryland, and the time here is 4 p.m. and in West African time, 10 p.m. So let's go. If you're just stepping in, you're welcome. Like, share, comment, so other people can connect and let's share ideas together. Once again, you're welcome. Let's go. Okay, and for those of you who are just meeting me for the first time, again, my name is Dr. Nkeng Stephens, and I'm a film producer, film director, film editor, cinematographer, colorist, and I've been doing this for more than a decade now. Work with big brands like MTN, UCB, was a brand ambassador for Johnny Walker, and also big brands like Etofis, Francis Ngannou, just to name a few. And so over the years, I've shot over 1,000 videos. Like I've shot, edited, color graded over 1,000 videos, including a feature film which is presently out on Amazon Prime. So that's been a whole journey. I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, uh, made a lot of obstacles, and I've also learned a lot. And some of these techniques I learned, I'm here to share them with you today, so we can all grow, stay together, connect, and build the Cameroon film culture, take it up and exploit it and export it to the world. Exactly. Yeah. So let's go. This is my first color grading master class, and yeah, this is what we're going to be learning today. So we're going to be looking at the basics of color grading. And also, I'll tell you more about color grading, the things you need to know about color grading, and also my workflow. And we're going to have a secret for having consistent look across different screens. So I'll give you my secret for you to have consistent look across different screen after your color grading or when you're color grading. And then, excuse me, and then I'll answer some of your questions. So any question you have, you can leave it, excuse me. Any question you have, you can leave it in the comment section below and I'll answer it at the end of the video, at the end of this live. So basically, this masterclass is for those who are using DaVinci Resolve and for those who are familiar with the software and who want to upgrade their techniques and tools in color grading. Yeah. So this is for you. And if you're ready, let's go. Okay, guys. So let's move ahead. So, introduction into color grading. What is color grading? Color grading is a creative post production process of adjusting images of videos, colors, contrast, and tone to evoke a specific mood, style, or emotion, enhancing storytelling. So basically, color grading is the form of manipulating an image or a video, the contrast, the colors, the exposure, manipulating it to evoke a specific mood or specific emotion. So these are the important things you have to take note of: the mood and the emotion you're going to evoke. And at the end of the day, what you're doing should help enhance the storytelling of the film you're color grading, or the music video, or the documentary, or commercial, or whatever. It should enhance and not destroy. You get it? So that's a very, very important, um, um, very, very important message I want you to get from this, because it's going to come in through when we start color grading. Yeah. So pay attention to that, the specific mood, style, and emotion, and it should enhance storytelling. Yeah. Let's move to the next, which is the three steps of color grading. So we have three main steps of color grading. The first step is image transformation. The second step is color correction. The third step is look development. So, image transformation. So, image transformation, it's the process where you shoot with a lock, like most of you have cameras that shoot on lock, right? Like every camera right now shoot on lock. So, when you shoot on lock, you have to transform it to Rec 709, and then before you start color grading. So that's the first step. So you transform it from log to Rec 709 using a tool called Color Space Transform, which is in DaVinci Resolve. So let's do this. So this is my DaVinci Resolve. I'm using DaVinci Resolve 19 Studios. So even if you have the DaVinci Resolve beta version, you can still work with me, because we're going to be touching just the basics, and yeah, it's going to move smoothly. So these are my shots. I have three shots here. As you can see that this is a video I shot recently. Video will be out pretty soon. So basically, let me ensure that I'm getting the right. Okay, nice. So basically, color transformation. Let's transform this image. So this is a log file. If you look at this is a log file. It's flat, not too many colors, not too much saturation. So we have to transform this to Rec 709. And the best way to do this, or the way I prefer to do it, is to first group all these clips into one group, right? When it's grouped into one group, let me reset all of this, please. So once we group these into one group, now we have the clip, and then we also have post the group post clip. So I'm going to create. So let me come to the. This should be our hero frame. Let's yes. So this can be our hero frame actually. So I'll come over here and add color space transform, and under color space transform, I'll input the color space of the camera into this shot. So the camera I used here was a red. So I'll go to the red white gamut and also red lock 3G10. Oh, one very important thing I forgot to mention is that before you even start with this process, you need to come over here under setting, and then under color management, you need to ensure that timeline color space is set to DaVinci White Gamut and output is set to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. You really want your uh, timeline color space to be in DaVinci White Gamut because DaVinci White Gamut is actually the biggest or the largest color space we can work with. So you want to have it that on DaVinci White Gamut Intermediate, and also the output color space should be Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, not Rec 709 Scene, because it always comes here like it always comes like this as default. It comes with Rec 709 scene, but we want it to be Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 because that's what we're going to export, or we're going to be viewing our images with Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. So you have to ensure that it's there, and then you click save. Nice one. So after we're done with that, then we can come over here, color space transform. We input this red white gamut, red lock 3G10, and then we now input DaVinci White Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate for the output. So from red white gamut, we're converting it to DaVinci White Gamut. Remember, because that's the largest color space we want to work with. And then under the group post clip, I'm going to create another color space transform. This is where I'll transform it out. And this is going to be from DaVinci White Gamut. Remember, we exported our shot to DaVinci White Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate. So right here, we're going to start with DaVinci White Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate, and then Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, which is what we're going to be viewing our image on. So you can see what happens when you do that. We now have a balanced image. So that's it. Now we have basically just transform our image from log to Rec 709. And this is the best way to do it. So some of you might be asking why. Let me arrange this mic. So some of you might be asking why I'm using or why I'm grouping. If you don't know why I'm grouping, you should probably check some of my old tutorials. But the main reason why I'm doing this is because I want to ensure that my looks I want to ensure that my looks should be consistent. So I have to place all these clips in one group, and then I work with it so that I ensure that anything I do under my group post clip should affect all these shots so that I don't go back to each shot and then try to adjust things. Like it's going to take me a lot of time. So I'm grouping it so I can be more faster and stay consistent. Yeah. So let's move ahead. So this is transformation. Let's go to the next. I hope you can get my audio. Please, if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comment section and I'll answer them. If you have any issues with this live, also do let me know. If you cannot get my voice, let me know. If you think there's some issues, you let me know. Yep. Just doing this. Nice one. Okay, so let's move ahead. So we're done with image transformation. So the next thing we're going to do is color correction. So in color correction, we have four basic steps for color correction. So the first step is exposure. The next step is contrast, white balance, and saturation. This is the four aspects of color correction. So let's try to do this. So the first thing is exposure, right? So we will just copy this. Excuse me. So we have to copy this transformation to the other clips, right? So I'll just highlight the other clips, and then I I click I to click my mouse to this, and it's going to copy. So we're good now. We have our transformation there. So let's go to exposure. So let me save this. So CST in, and this should be exposure. So under exposure, you want to ensure that you have the right exposure for your clip. So I come to waveform, and looking at my waveform, we want our exposure to basically come up, but then we don't want the exposure to hit right up here. When your image hits the uh, 1023 points, it's basically clipping in the highlights. And if it hits zero, it's basically clipping in the shadows. You get? So we want our image to stay in between this, but then we want it to be like want it to expand, but we don't want it to touch both ends, right? So let's do that. So under exposure, I'll come to gamma. I'll come to color wheels, and then under the color wheels, I'll now bring up the gamma little, like that. I think this is not bad. The gain, I could bring down the gain a little. Yeah, and I think this is good for me. So basically, this works before, after. I'm done with the exposure. So let's move to the next. So the next is contrast, right? Want to ensure that this has a good contrast. So I'll create another node. I'll call it contrast. And under contrast, we're going to just work with the basic contrast that we have, and this is right here. But before that, under my pivot, I'll put in 0.335, so that my pivot should be like in the mid gray, before doing the contrast, so it doesn't affect the skin too much when I'm doing the contrast. Okay, so when the pivot is 0.335, you're actually um keeping your skin intact in a way that the contrast doesn't affect it too much. You get? So let's go. Contrast. I'll try to pull up the contrast a little. You know, so something like this works for me. So this is before and after. So you see that it's popping out the image pretty well, which is something that I like. So I'll leave it here, and then the next, we just reset. So the next thing we're going to do is white balance, and of course, white balance, it's when you have to balance the color in your image to ensure that it's not too warm or not too cool. You get? So I'll add another node, and then I'll call this white balance. So that's white balance. And then how do we know our white balance is wrong? We can look at our vector scope. And if you look at the vector scope, this is like where the white is falling. And if you look at this, you see that the image is pushed more towards the warm side, because you can see that from the vectoscope that the image is going towards this warm area. So we want to bring it a little down so it can be balanced. I'll come over here under primaries, but before I touch the primary tool, under my white balance node, I'll right click and then go to go to gamma. Under gamma, I'll click on linear. And when I do that, now the note is basically gonna work like um the white balance in my camera. Let me put it that way. So it's going to be very subtle, very mild, but then very nice. So that's what I'll do. So I'll come over here once I'm done with that. Under the gamma, no, under the gain. Sorry, under the gain, I'm just gonna try to bring away some of these yellow or warm colors that I see here. So I'll bring it like so. I'll just do it a little so you can see before, after. So I'm just bringing down some of that warm tones that coming through heavy so you can see before and after. So I'm done with the white balance and go to the last aspect of color correction, which is saturation. Now, saturation, it's always good to do it when you're doing color grading, but should in case you have an image where there's not enough saturation. I mean, I used the red to shoot this video, and you know that the red color science is huge. So obviously the saturation looks good for me, but I'll show you a way where you can do saturation if your shot doesn't have enough saturation. So you come over here and create another node, and I'll call this saturation. So under saturation, I'll right click and then go to color space and input HSV. That's hue saturation value. Because what I want to do is I don't just want to come over here and add the saturation. I want us to do something that we call subtractive saturation. So that I'm going to so what is subtractive saturation basically? It it's when you're pushing the saturation, but the images and the colors feels like you're reducing the luminance or the light. So you're adding saturation, but then the colors become more dense, more dark. It's a filmic way of adding saturation to your image, and I advise you to do it this way. So once we're done with that setting, we come over here and under the gamma, we're going to now push. Sorry. So forgotten. I need to like after we're done with this color space HSV, we have to come over here and then under channels, we change the first channel, we remove the first channel, and then we have to remove the third channel. So we're going to leave just channel two, and channel two is going to affect just the saturation basically. So once you're done with this, we come over to the gamma and then if you just add the gamma, you're adding saturation. You can see that. So you can basically add the gamma and then reduce the gain. So basically, all these wheels affect the saturation, just the saturation, nothing else. So let's see what we can do. So we add a little saturation like so, and then bring it down with the gain. And you can see this. So basically it's adding saturation, but then the colors feel more dense, feel more filmic, which is what I like to use. So there you go. That's a technique for saturation. Try it on your images. That you're definitely gonna love it. Trust me. So let's move over to the next part. So we're done with color correction. So this is basically color correction. So if I take this out, so you see what we started with. This is after transformation, and then after color correction, this is what we have. So basically, you see this like it looks good. The image looks good already just from doing um, color correction. It looks good without color grading. So when you're done, then we can move to color grading. So this is look development, which is actually color grading. So look development, we have 7 aspects to look at. So are we good? Is everybody fine? Hope we're good. Before I continue, let me just ensure that everything is moving on well. Nice. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, so look development. We have 7 aspects to look at when we're talking about look development. So the first aspect is contrast. You want to ensure that you have your film contrast because this is where you start creating the mood, remember, and emotions from the contrast. So let's work on the film contrast curve and let's see how you can approach it. So remember, I did all of this on that clip, right? So I'm going to start the color grading or look development under post group post clip. So I'll create a node before. So everything I'm gonna do, sorry, everything I'm gonna do here has to be before this CST out. Let me rename this CST out. Excuse me. So basically, everything I have to do, all the changes I have to work on, has to be before the CST out. Okay, so it's very important because we want everything to flow from clip, flows down, and then flows into post, and then flows out. That's the way you want it to work. You don't want to work after the CST out because basically it's like you're working with uh Rec 709, you know. But as long as we are working inside this space, like between CST out and CST in, then we are working in the DaVinci White Gamut color space. Hope you can understand. Okay, let's move over to the contrast. So I want the contrast to be exactly here. And then I'm going to come over to the curve. And on that curves, I'm going to start. Let's see what we can do. I'll push this up like this. And then while looking at my waveform, push this up and then bring this down. So you want to ensure that your curve, your contrast curve is like not trashing your image, but then it helps to pop your image out. Okay. So and while we're doing this, we have to ask ourselves, what is the mood we want to get? What is the emotion we want to evoke? And like I told you, for this video, I don't know if I told you this. For this video, I mean, this is a love song, and we want the image to basically pop out. We want to see rich colors. We want to feel happiness. So happiness comes with like popping image. So you can see what I did with the contrast. This is before and after. You see that? So I'm just popping it out. So basically, what I'm doing right now is just the basics so you can understand. When I get into my workflow, you now really understand how I use some of these tools and when I use them. Yeah. So go, let's move ahead. So the next tool or next aspect we should look out for is HSL, use saturation luminance. So this is the part where you now start fine tuning your colors. So we create a node before. Let's name this to contrast. Let's say contrast main. Let's say main contrast. Yeah. And then we come over here, and here we have to work on HSL, right? Let's rename these at once. HSL. So under HSL, we come to we're going to be using these curves, U versus U curves and U versus saturation curves. You can also use color slicer for some certain cases, but I'll get into that when we're working on my workflow. So right now, let's work on the curves, U versus saturation and U versus U curves. So under U versus U, now we have to start deciding what we want for our look. So um, what do we want? How do we want our sky to look? What are the colors we want to remove? The colors we want to adjust, And looking at this image, everything looks pretty much nice for me. But for the sake of tutorial or for the sake of this masterclass, I'm going to show you how I can manipulate some of these colors. So under U versus U, let's create some points here. And under these points, we're going to, let's say we want to adjust this green, the green leaves and flowers behind. We want to adjust that. So I'm going to come over here and then this is where we have the green. And yeah, so we can move this up a little. So let's go to this wide shot so you can see better what I'm doing. So this is it. So let's take this out. So this is what we have. And let's say we want this green to be more, warm. We don't want it to be this green. So we just click a point where you have the green. And then we just take it up like so. So see that? Take it up like so. This is not bad. And also, if you say you want your blue to be a little more cyan, you can create points here and then take this up a little. So you can see before and after. You see what it's doing? So that's what the U is doing. So the U is one of those very important tools that you always have to look out for because it helps really, fine tune your colors. It helps bring your colors to where you want it to be and helps evoke that emotion that you want. So this is what we have right now. Let me just go ahead and save this. So this is what we have right now. So let's move to the next, which is the color. Now we're talking about color. This is where you start asking yourself, what colors do I want? Do I want it to be warm or I want it to be cool? So these are the two ways you always have to approach look development when you're building your look. Like ask yourself, do I want this color to be cool or I want it to be warm? So if you want it to be cool, how much cool do you want it to be? Or how much warm do you want it to be? Because these are the two uh, opposites that you can always work with. So let's say I want it to, let's look at this and decide together. Um, I think this is good, but for tutorial's sake, let me just say I want it to be more cool. So I'm going to add more cool colors to it. This and how do I do this? I'll come over here and then under color space, that gamma, I'll click linear. Let's click color here. So under under gamma, I'll click the linear. And remember, linear transforms your color wheels to affect your footages, like as if it's your camera affecting the images. So it's more mild, it's more subtle. I always like to use it when I'm trying to manipulate some colors. So let's say we want cool colors than warm colors. And yeah, I think that this is quite nice, but I feel like we're having more warm colors here. So I just want to add some coolness into it. So I'll do this. I'll come over under my gain, then do this. Let's go back to our hero frame. So I can do this. While looking at my vector scope, of course, you can see before, after. So I'm just taking out some of that warm colors and adding some cool colors. You see what is happening? See what is happening? So you see before and after. See that? Like, these are the simple things that you do when you're color grading that makes you stand out because color grading is not all about just doing too much, too much. You have to do little, little things that when it combined together, it now gives you the look that you want. So I don't need to do too much. This is okay for me. So this is before and after. If I needed warm colors, I would have added some more warm colors to these. But for this, I'm going to need cool colors. So this is okay for me. So you see that we're good to go. So right here, we go to the next, which is skin, right? And under skin, this is where you start adjusting the skin. Skin is the most important part of one of the most important part of your look development because it helps to like fine tune your look. Because with a good skin tone, you can sell any look. The bad skin tone, even if you have the best look, people will not love it. It will still look poor. If you have a good skin tone, even if the color grading is too bad, the skin tone, because the eyes always see the skin first. When the eyes are looking, when you're looking at a video or a film, eyes goes directly to the skin first. So if the skin is good, you just turn to like the image. But if the skin is bad, you like turn off. You get so let's work on the skin. Just create more space here. So create a new note, and under this note, I'll name it skin. So under skin, what do we do to work on the skin? First of all, you have to check if your skin is good. For me, my skin looks good. You can see that on the skin tone line. This is a skin tone line, and you can see my skin is looking really nice. I just feel like it's a little saturated, but I can just bring that down using this. So under UV saturation, I can bring down my skin a little, just like that. Basically, getting the skin perfect is actually ensuring that your skin is on the skin tone line and has the right skin color that it's supposed to have. The right saturation, the right color, and that's it. If you don't have these things right, your skin tone will never look right. But when I'm doing my workflow, I'll show you the way I really work skin tones, the advanced techniques that I use to ensure that I have the perfect and the best skin tones in my images. So let's go ahead. So for skin tone, let's leave it like this, for now. And then the next thing will be the whites and the blacks. So the whites and the blacks basically means you're trying to ensure that you don't have any colors in your blacks and in your whites. Because when you have colors in your blacks, your look feels unnatural, you know? So even if you have a very pushed look, then the blacks are like blacks, no colors found in the blacks. Now your images start looking nice. But if you have a color grading where your blacks are filled with blue colors or brown colors, at the end of the day, it tend to look muddy, it tend to look amateurish, which is what we don't want. So how do you know if your blacks are clean? You come over here to waveform, and under the waveform, you can see here mine is clean. Because if you see if you let me show you, for example, how you determine if blacks are not there. Let me just add some colors here. Basically, this is an example of a bad black. Like you can see this, you can see on the waveform that there's too much blue down and the green is up. This is when you know that your blacks are not even, your blacks are not blacks. And even when you try to balance it, you still see that your blacks are not blacks. But when you see your images looking like this, where the blacks are actually looking you know, then you know that your blacks are blacks. So there, I'll just leave a note and call it black. Call this black. Then I'll create another note and I'll call it white. So that's it. So this, I mean, I'll really show you how we can work on it when I'm doing my workflow. But basically, your black, you have to ensure that your black is black and then your white stay even. Sometimes you can play with your white, you can do with it, even if your white doesn't really look exactly white, it can work. But if your blacks feel like there's a color inside, it's definitely going to show muddy and it will not be professional for you. Okay. So let's move ahead. Hmm. So next thing is texture. So texture is basically adding grains or sharpening your images if you want to. And then you have masking, which is basically all no masking, vignetting, you know, trying to relight your images, which is also a very, very important part of color grading or look development. So basically, these are the 7 aspects you have to look out for when you're doing look development. So I hope you guys are good. Hope we don't have any questions. For any questions, remember you can leave your questions in the comment section and then I'll go through it. Are we good? Are we good, guys? Hope we're getting the knowledge. Hope you're understanding what I'm saying perfectly well. So let's move over to the next section, which is my workflow. Let's go to the next section, guys. Are we ready? This is the interesting part. And then this is the most interesting part. The most interesting part will be the secret to having your images look similar on any screen. That'll be the most interesting part because when you have that, I think you're more comfortable as a colorist. So let's move to my workflow. So doing my workflow, I'll first of all, let me just save this. So I'll just reset everything and then I'll take you through. So this is my workflow. Firstly, um, what I do, I'm using Dehensa when I'm color grading. So Dehensa is a plugin you can purchase online, and yeah, it helps you have that film look, simulate that film look because there's a lot of film stocks inside and film prints that you can use to achieve that cinematic looks. So I'm using Dehensa. For those of you who know the answer, you know. For those of you who don't know the answer, you can check online and see. Let me show you. Mm, so the answer. So basically, you can go and buy it right here, and yeah, it really helps you get that film look that you're looking for, and it actually helps, especially when it comes to look development. It actually helps to like it reduces the work, the contrast work, and the film density work that you do. It's like you just have a note that keeps all of your look or all of your images looking nice. When it comes to contrast and when it comes to film density. So let's move ahead, and we're good. So workflow. Okay, so basically we all know the first step, color management, right? Timeline, color space, DaVinci White Gamma intermediate, output, Rec 79, Gamma 2.4. So when I'm done, I'll come over here and then I'll create one node, and then here I'll do another one like this. So under here I'll do CST in, and then the same process, right? So you guys should know why I'm doing this. Oh, I did this under pre-clip, so let's let's set this and then do it here. Supposed to be under clip, right? So we're using clip and group post clip. So CST in, C, no, let's do this. CST out. This would be the Hensa. Yeah, so the Hensa is going to come after the CST out. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to use the Hensa on Rec 719, not in DaVinci Wide Gamut space. For reasons best known to me, sometimes I use it in the DaVinci Wide Gamut color space, like here. Sometimes my Hensa is here, but sometimes I like it as Rec 709 and I find it like it works for me basically. So CST. So this is red, right? Input your color, your camera color space, DaVinci Wide Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate, and right here CST, DaVinci Wide Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate, Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. And then under the Dehensa, I'm going to insert the Dehensa. So basically, I'm using a smaller computer because my bigger computer has some issues. So I left it for the technician to fix it. So now I'm using a smaller computer. So just don't mind if you see some slowness in the computer of this, or if the computer is lagging, don't just mind. Okay. Okay. So Rec 709 exactly. And then this is the technique that I always use. I take away the film stock and then I'll use the film print. So Kodak 2383 film print. I'll use just the Kodak film print and I take away the film stock. And most times I can add the analog range limiter. Yes, just to ensure that I have enough details in my shadows. So when I'm done, I leave this and then I start with my color correction. So this is basically let me just save this here. So basically, this is basically my workflow. So you first of all start and transform the image, and then I add dehancer to give me that film density and film contrast. And then from there, I start balancing the image, fixing issues that I see, and building my looks. Yeah. So I'll take away the film grain for now. So here we go. Excuse me. So the first thing, as we all know, exposure. So exposure for color correction. So I'll just take this up a little. Excuse me. So I'll just take this up a little. Then looking nice. You can see that before and after. Nice. So the next thing, contrast, right? So this is how I do. Instead of doing the contrast here, I'm going to start with the film contrast. So I'll start with the film contrast. Remember, we called it the contrast main, right? So, oh, so film contrast. And then here I'm going to now come to the curve. Under the curves, I'm going to work on the contrast to ensure that I'm keeping enough details in my shot. So remember, when you're working on the contrast, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. And what is the mood for the video or for the image? What emotion do I want to evoke? And for this, remember, we want to evoke that happy comedy feeling. So we want a strong, excuse me, we want a strong contrast. So I'll first start here. I'll bring this down like so. Take this up like so. Between, I'm trying to see what I can get. So I'm looking at my shadows to ensure that I'm not clipping the shadows and also not clipping the highlights. So you can see before and after. So that's a good contrast for me for this look. Also, I see my highlights is kind of like very high. So I'll bring it down by coming to the exposure and under color wheels, I bring down the highlights like so. Yes. So you can see before and after. So basically, we're just bringing up the contrast and reducing the highlights so that we have enough details to work with. Right. So that's good. So let's move to the next thing, which is obviously um white balance. Yes. So I'll do the white balance. Sorry. So I'll do the white balance under the group post clip, not individually. I'll go individually later on when I'm fine tuning the when I'm trying to ensure that my colors are consistent from shot to shot. That's when I'll go through each shot and work on the white balance. But for this, when I'm creating the look development, I'll do a white balance that can go in for all of the images. And this white balance can also serve as color, during look development. So that's it. So let's come over here, white balance. How we do it, right? Over the gamma linear, and then come over here, and it's kind of warm. But remember, we want something cool, right? So come over here, and then we start under the gain. We start injecting or removing some warm colors. So you can see that before and after. So before, after, before, after. You see that? So we're having nice, cool colors. That works for me. Yeah, so taking it slowly, one step at a time. So I'll come over here and say, let me just call this color. Yes. So basically, this will affect all the other shots because it's under the group post clip. So you see, it's affecting every other thing. So we're good. So the next thing we're going to do is we have saturation, obviously. We have HSL, obviously. So basically, from now on, I'll start dialing my colors to match the look that I want. Okay, so I already have cool colors, nice. But if you can see the shadows are really dirty, we're gonna clean that up. The highlights are kind of good, but I feel like the colors are not yet exactly the way I want it to be. Like the sky, the water, everything is not exactly the way I want it to be. So I'll move to the next thing, which is the HSL. HSL. And under HSL, I'm going to let's leave this. So one important technique when you're doing your main contrast, ensure that your main contrast is exactly just before your CST out because this right here is like the foundation. Just imagine you're building a house. This right here is a foundation. So your contrast, your main contrast want to be part of the foundation so that everything comes from clip gets into group, and then hits the contrast before going to CST out. If you do the contrast, if you do your main contrast right up here, like you're going to disturb it with different effects you're going to add. You understand? So you want your main contrast to be at the end, right over here. Yes. So let's move ahead. HSL, right? So let's go to this shot so we see exactly what we are doing. Okay. Uh, the first thing I'm looking out for right now is this this blue, right? The first thing, I want the colors to be rich. So I want this blue to pop out. I want it to be rich, right? So I'll come over to the HSL, and under UV saturation, I can pop out the blue like so, you know, like so. This is a good way to do it, but I have a different way of doing this. So let me just reset this, and then over here, I'll say DCTL. For those of you who know DCTL, I mean, it's a great. It has a great way to add some plugins into DaVinci Resolve that can really help you boost your look. So if you don't know about DCTL, go and check it. It's actually it's just like a gateway to add plugins into DaVinci Resolve, if you know what I mean. So you can download different DCTLs like the ones I have. Let me show you. So it's a DCTL. You see, like the different DCTLs you have downloaded. You have the Kazi DCTL, which is very nice. And also, I'm going to use the KH subtract DCTL. So what I want to do with this is I want to add some blue color over here, you know. So I'll come over here under the DCTL. I'll just add the cyan. So you can see that, see what I'm doing? See that? It's just adding the blue without necessarily adding anything else, you know, any other color. So this is good, but too much. So I'll just add this like so. And I think this works for me. So this is before and after. So if you look at this before and after, before, after, before, after. That's a nice one. So the next thing I'm going to do, obviously we're in HSL, right? So let's see what can we do to the other colors. Let's say this green, we want it to be more green. So under HSL, we're going to come over here under U versus U, and then select where we have that green. I think the green will be around here. So I'll just keep a pivot. I'll keep a pivot around my skin tones, and then just work with this green. So you see this. So let's say we want it to be this kind of green, or I prefer it like this. Yes, this is not bad. And then I want to take the saturation down. Saturation of the green, I want to take it down. So something like this. So you see that? So before, after. So basically, you see why I'm using group, right? Because everything is affecting, it's going to affect everything. So this is where, under the group post clip, is where I do like the major changes that can affect everything on the group, like all the clips in the group, right? But inside the clip, I'm gonna do like individual adjustments that should adjust each clip, that should work on each clip, right? So just me. So here we go. We're getting our look already, and so we have to look at the image, and then we decide what we need to work on. So looking at the image, I think this is really pretty good. You know, there's nothing I think I want to add again. So you can see that everything is working out well. So under the clip, so when I'm done with like the look, no, I see something wrong here. Yeah, see the blacks here are not really black. And if you look at it down here, you see an example of what I was saying. The blacks kind of have some green cool colors. So I want to remove that and make sure that the blacks stay black. So if it has cool colors in the blacks, I have to add warm colors to subtract the blue colors, right? So I'll come over here and create another node. I'll call this black. And then under the black, I'll come over here. I have two ways to approach this. Most times I can come over to the log wheel, and then under the log wheel, I just add a little red under the log wheel. So take a look at how this red is going to go up, right? So see this. See that? See that? You see that? So basically I'm fixing the black, but then I feel like the black is extending too much into the skin. So I'm going to bring down the range so that it affects just the deepest parts of the blacks. So it doesn't affect the skin too much. So let's take it down. Take down the range. See that? So at least we're still having some coolness in the shadows, but the deepest part of the blacks, is being fixed. So it's before after. There's another way I do it is also using DCTL, the Kazi DCTL. So under Kazi DCTL, I'm going to color. Let me see. Look DNA, and under look DNA, I'll come over to the undertones, and under the undertones, I'm going to add some red, you know, or I could use the blacks and add some reds there. Yes, I think this works basically because it's affecting just the blacks, So this is before, after. See that? Before and after. Before, after. Before, after. See how it's just balances the coolness that was in the shadows, and this works for me. And this is definitely going to affect all the other clips in the group. So looks nice, right? Looks nice basically. So I'll go to the whites. So under the whites, let's rename these. Under the whites, we're gonna ask ourselves, um, is the white balance? Is there too much color on the white? I think the white actually looks good right now. Okay, you're already an eye into this. So basically, I think the white actually looks good. But for tutorial sake, let's just see what we can do with it. So under the white, I'm gonna come over here under the log wheel. There are two ways in which I can work on the whites too. I could come over the log wheel. This is the best way. This is the way I love to work with whites. So I come over to the log wheel, and then let's say I want to add some cool colors on the white. So I'll come over here and then push this down, the highlights down, and then work on the range to ensure that it affects the white. So you can see this before and after, before and after. So basically, this just I'm just doing this. I'm just pushing this too much so you see what is happening, right? Yeah, but you don't need to do it too much. So this is it before and after. See that? So basically, it's just adding more colors and the whites, making it cool, and basically you can come over here and then reduce reduce the blue under HSL. If you feel like you're having too much cool tones up there, just bring it down a little, you know. Basically, I think you can see how I'm approaching, look development, and color correction. I'm not forcing colors. I'm actually massaging the image to give me the look that I want. And I'm asking a lot of questions. How do I want this to look? What are the colors I want? I'm not just going ahead and say, oh, let me try this, let me try that. No, no, no. I'm going with intention. So it's always very important to have a specific intention when you're color grading. Ask yourself, what exactly do I want? And how can I approach this? What are the best ways to approach this? You know, so to be a colorist means that you have different approach to solve different problems, and you might try this approach today, it doesn't work. You could try another one, it doesn't work. So that's why you're supposed to have different ways to solve problems in DaVinci Resolve, not just one way, because not every image is the same. Some images are different. You might try. Oh, this guy is calling me. Yeah, bro. I did live. I did live. I did live now, so ma finish, bro. I don't finish that thing and they upload them. I did live. Ma finish. Yeah. So basically, what I was trying to say is that you can always use. It's always good to have different approach or different techniques to solve problems. Sometimes you might try one way, it doesn't go. You should be able to try another way. Don't be discouraged like, oh, it never work. How I would do, just always have different tools, different techniques, as many as possible, so that in anywhere you find yourself, any image you have, you can always try different techniques and have the look that you want. These are the most important ideas you should have in the back of your head as a colorist. So let's move ahead. So basically, for me, I think this works well. But before I move ahead, just give me a minute. Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. Stay with me. I'm back. We're good to move ahead. Yeah, let me just ensure that everything is moving on well on Facebook. Okay, nice. I think I have some questions here. Uh, but I'll answer them at the end of the day. Um, some of the questions I already answered them. Okay, okay. Someone say audio isn't working. Hope you guys can get me, bro. My bros, hope you guys can get me. Oh, the audio is normally supposed to be working. Anyway, let's move ahead. This is our first live, obviously. There's some issues, but as we move ahead, we're going to definitely look for a solution to those problems. Okay? Okay. Let's move to the next. So basically, I think this works for me. I think this works for me. This feels good, and I like what I did here. You know, but before I confirm this, because it might look good on this monitor, but if I play it on another monitor, it doesn't look good. You know, I know you've faced that problem before. I've gone through that same problem, and it's been hell for me all this while because I'm always like, excuse me, I was always like, why is it that I'm coloring my video? It looks nice on my monitor, but when I play it on a different monitor, it doesn't look nice. But why is it that these American videos always look alike on different monitors? I've always had that problem. And this is where we're going to solve that problem. So it takes us to the next and the most interesting part, which is probably the most easiest thing. Part of this life is the secret to having your images look similar on any screen. So for me, this is like the mastering process. You know, when you're doing music or you're doing sound engineering, there's a point where you mix and master, right? So for me, like all the process we have been going through is like mixing, you get, and then mastering. This is the process. What I'm about to show you right now is what we call mastering in color grading. So it's like ensuring that everything looks nice and good on every screen. Okay. So how do you do that? Let's move first. You have to install this app onto your computer and onto your phone. So I have it right here on my phone. So if you can see, I have it right here on my phone and my computer is installed by Asai LLC. It's installed there, so you can see that. So you have to do the same. So once you do that, you come over your browser and say remote access, and you register your computer. Once you register your computer, you'll be online, and then you can now mirror your screen on your phone. So you can mirror your screen on your phone so you can see. So you can see my screen is on my phone right now. You see that? Yeah. So this is how you master. So I advise you, Samsung, if you have Samsung, you're good. I don't know much about iPhones and the other Pixels, or other phones. I don't know much about it, but I know Samsung screens are very good. They're like 98% accurate or 99% accurate. So if you have a Samsung phone, use it. If you don't have one, buy it for this purpose. You know, normally for you to do this, you will need a very expensive monitor that the professionals use to match colors or to ensure that their colors stay consistent from different screen one screen from one screen to another, right? But if you don't have the money to purchase like a very expensive monitor for that purpose, you can use your phone, guys. Once you connect your phone, right now you can now monitor your image is looking at your phone. And right now, when I'm looking at my phone, This feels, this really feels nice, but I see a lot of things I can do just by looking at my phone. Looking at my phone, I feel like the contrast is not enough. Like I don't have the right contrast. So I'm going to work on it. So instead of working on the general contrast, which is the contrast main, I'll come over here under the clip, create another node, and then work on the contrast here. So I'll do this. Let me try this. So we all know it's 0.335 for the pivot, and then let's try this and see. I don't like this contrast. I'll so that's why I'm saying you need to have different tools in your bank, because I tried that, it didn't work. So I'm going to try this other one, which is um my curves, you know. So I can do this. Let me see a little more color or more exposure. Take this down. So I'm basically looking at my phone right now and I'm doing the balance. So you can see before and after, before, after. So, and I feel like I'm crushing the shadows a little more on my phone, but on the monitor, I don't see that. So I have to work on the shadows better. So I come over here and then under exposure, I'll go to my log wheels and then try to bring up the shadows a little. And then try to keep the exposure down. So basically, with the phone, you can see better. You can see 100% better with the phone. Whereas uh, when you're using a monitor, which like most especially monitors that are not really expensive, you don't see that well. You can't really see colors accurately. So um, I think this is not bad, but I can bring down the exposure just a little on the gamma. Right. So this works. Basically, this really works. Nice. So the next thing I'm seeing is the skin. So let me name this contrast. The next thing is the skin. So I'll show you how I work my skin. So I work my skin on individual clips, not on the group clip. So under this clip, I'm gonna come here or select my skin under the HSL qualifier or select my skin. Ensure I'm affecting the skin only. And then under the skin, first thing I'm going to do is on my vector scope to ensure that my skin, okay, so my skin is actually not really sitting on the line, but it's not bad. But I think the saturation is a little too much. So I can bring down the saturation skin. So just come over here, take down the saturation. So I'm doing this while looking at my phone. This feels nice, not bad. And I could come over here and say color compressor and add it on the skin. Then maybe pick a particular point I want to impress all my skin to. Let's say this color. What's wrong? Like I said, I'm using a more slower computer, a small computer, so let's expect some lagging sometimes. Yeah, let's see what's happening. Why can we not select? I'm sure it's just loading it. Okay, there we go. So basically, I'll just select a point where I want to compress all my U's to, and then I'll compress the U to that color. So you can see what is happening down here on the vector scope. See this? I'm doing the compression right now. Usually, I like to do it to like around here, not 100%. And then the saturation, could do this, do this. No, I'm not doing too much. See that before, after, and then I could come over to the U versus U and just rotate it up to the skin tone line. Okay, not bad, not bad. And then also you can see what is happening, right? So this is before, this after, before, after, before, after. So I also think that I can soften the skin a little, so I'll come over to the primaries and under mid-tone details, I'll take it down to like 15, minus 15. It's like softer, and there you go. So you can see this. Basically, I'm just here to show you exactly how I approach my color grading, right? So normally if I'm color grading on my own, I'll take more time on this and fine tune it till I get the right thing. But you can see what we are getting. You can see this, see that, and it doesn't look quite different with the screen. If you take a look at this, it doesn't look too different. Looking at this screen here, then looking at this, it doesn't look quite too different. It's very similar. And that's why I said that you should use your phone when you're doing color grading to master your colors. Okay? So let's move ahead. So I just worked on the skin, and then I can go ahead and save these to the other ones, just to ensure that we stay consistent. So you see, this is why I love this my workflow, because it helps you stay consistent. You don't need to go back to each shot and color grade and balance it. You just do one thing on the group, and then the rest is just fixing and fine tuning. Okay. Yes. Nice. So definitely this is how you do. And this is the technique I was telling you about. It sounds very simple. Trust me, this technique, it's huge. You start using this technique, you're gonna see a lot different, you know, with the way you approach your color grading. I know that 99% of colorists are going through this problem. Once you start using your phone, especially a good phone like Samsung, doing publicity for Samsung or a beg, but once you start using your phone like Samsung, you're going to enjoy your work process, your color grading process. You're going to enjoy it a lot. So here we go. So there's one. Then let's see. We have texturing. So we worked on the blacks, worked on the white. We have texturing and masking. So texturing is basically adding grains. So obviously you can come over to the Hensa. The Hensa has a good grain development. So I'll just come to the Hensa. Then on that grain, I'll just put the grain that is there and then probably go to custom, reduce the size because I don't want it to be too grainy and reduce the amount. And also, yes, reduce the noise in the shadows. Then yes, I'll leave it like that. So you can see that it's working perfectly well. And also sharpen. So I'll show you the way I usually sharpen my images. Um I'll come over here. So after the dehance, I'm going to create a new note, and this note will just be for sharpening. And over here, I'm going to select just the highlights. So I'll come over to this qualifier, and I'll select just the highlights. So I'll undo all this and then select just the highlights. Let's see. So when I select just the highlights, I'll soften it, and then once it's soft, I could come over here under the sharpen, and then under here, I'll click the sharpen here, and then I just reduce it down to 1. So basically, I'm sharpening just the highlights and not everything, not the whole, not the entire image, right? So you can see this. If I bring it really down, you see what it's doing. So you see before and after, you see that. So I'll just come up so I'm not doing it too much. So basically, that's how I sharpen my image. You know, if I want to sharpen the image. Most times I don't sharpen the images because I like it to be that soft the way I shot it. So nice. Um, that's done for texturing. So the next is masking, which is one of the most important part of this. So masking, let's come over here and let's try to max this out. So actually masking helps in building the look because you it's like you're lighting, it's like you're relighting the set. So if I look at this and I have to do some masking, I'm gonna come over here and say I want this top to be a little darker. So first I'll create something like this, and then I'm going to soften it in and out, and then come over to the gamma and then bring it down a little. So you have to ensure that you fix it very well. So it doesn't look like you're doing anything, you understand? So this is not bad, but I can reduce again so it feels more natural. So this is before and after. Let's take away the gain a little. Yes, so this is before and after. So basically, you see, we're just fine tuning and relighting this look, and also I could say I'll create like a para note, and then I'll create a vignette right here. Let's do this, and I'll invert it, and then come over here and reduce this. So basically, We're not doing too much, but what we're doing is enough. We could come over here, you know. So basically, those are the ideas you need to have when you're color grading. You don't need to do too much. Avoid doing too much, okay? Focus on the most important things. The eyes just want to see something beautiful, something natural. That's what the eyes want. Avoid doing too much. It will not help you, okay? So, nice one. So we have these right here. If we want to do on some vignetting, we could do it. So we could do it like this. Obviously, you know this, but don't do it too much. I feel this is good. Doesn't feel like I'm forcing it. So that's the idea. Don't force, don't force any tool onto your images. Let it feel natural. Let it feel like that's the way it's supposed to be. Let it feel, let it have its place in your image. Don't force it. Don't push it too much. Okay. Nice one. Okay. So I think with that said, we're almost coming to the end of this live session. We have been live now for 1 hour 30 minutes. Let me see what we have. The last part of it is answering questions. So definitely we're going to be answering your questions. So I'll go through some of your questions and then answer. So you can ask your questions. Feel free to ask your questions. I'll answer with you, and then we'll call it a wrap for today. So definitely, I'm going to be doing more of these live sessions as time goes. Sometimes I will do live, but I'll talk more on uh, um, cinematography, lighting. Sometimes I'll talk on editing. So decide choose. You guys can choose what we're going to work on the next live session. So you can write down, suggest, do keep your suggestion in the comment section. Uh, Let me know if you want me to go live on editing, cinematography, and lighting, or you want me to do some more color grading live tutorials for you. Okay, guys, let's go to the questions. Let me check and see what questions we have. Okay, great. So, uh, let's see. Okay, the Bomer says her makeup is super yellow. How do you fix that? Curves or color wrapper or something else? So I'll tell you that for you to fix her makeup, like I said, you work on the skin tone. You can select the skin with the qualifier, and then you can bring down saturation. You know, you can bring, obviously, you have to ensure that your colors are good. Then you can bring down saturation and work on the hue. This is the saturation. I brought it down. So if you see before, see the way it was, and then you see now after. And then ensure that you also reduce the mid-tone details, which is very, very important. Okay? I hope that answers your question. Um, just want the workflow. You're too strong. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing my workflow, so you can copy it and try it on your next projects. Okay? Boss, can you explain how to use the Hensa film properly to get the best results? Uh, for that, I can do another tutorials just explaining how the Hensa really works. But if I can just cover something for you now, the Hensa is a plugin. I want you to understand this, right? So Dehensa is a plugin that was made to emulate film looks. You understand? So emulating film looks. 1 minute, please. So emulating film looks means that you're trying to copy the way films were done in those days. Okay. So it's very important to pay attention to this. It means that you want to copy the contrast and film density of the way film used to look, noise reduction and all that. You understand? But you have to know how to color grade before using the Hensa. The Hensa is not a tool where it's not just one tool where you just put on your image and then you're done. Or you no. You have to know how to color grade. You have to know how to fine tune colors, and that's why I'm giving you all these tips. So you know how to fine tune them, and then the Hensa comes in to just help balance and help keep your images looking filmic. You understand? But in the long run, I can decide to do another tutorial just for the Hensa. But you guys will let me know if you really want me to do that. And if you want me to do that, you leave the comment and definitely I will do something for you. Okay. And next questions. If you could recommend the type of lots we should use, what that would help if me even more. If you could recommend the types of laws we could use, that would help me even more. Okay, the types of lots that you can use. You see, I don't really use lots like that. I use the Hensa who has, and the Hensa has just this lot, dark 2383 film lot. So this is what the Hensa has. I was using the Fuji film, man. Anyways, Fuji film still works. So this is the Hensa. Uh, the Hensa has Kodak 2383 film print and also Fujifilm 3513 film print. So these are the lots I'm using, but it's actually a film print, but I'll call it a lot still. But lot doesn't do too much. Lots help you to just have like um just helps you to keep your images in a particular color space or in a particular mood space. You still have to know how to fine tune these lots to fix problems, solve the problems, that you see before you have the best from the lots. Okay. So pay attention to this, my workflows. Okay. The next thing, why do you use log wheel instead of normal wheel? So the log wheel I'm using is when I'm trying to fine tune the whites and the blacks. And I don't want to affect the skin tone or the undertones of the blacks. So for me to make it really clear, if you see, if you take a look at me right now, yeah, you see this right here is the blacks. This is the blacks, right? But this is not blacker than this. Right here, under here, there's no light. So this is like the darkest point in this image right here, right? So when I'm using log wheels, I don't want to affect these blacks, but I want to affect the darkest blacks in the image. You get it? So lock wheels, when you're using lock wheels, can you can basically let me just add a log wheel here. So when I'm using log wheel, you can basically come over here. Let's say the blacks, and then we add, let's say, warm into the blacks, and then we can use the range to like keep it to the blackest, to the darkest darks, you know. And we can also use the range to bring it up to touch some of the skin, and even the highlights. But that's why I'm using Logway because Logway has the ability to keep the color, like to really fine tune and ensure it's like compressing to compress the colors to stay just in the darkest points of the image. That's why I'm using Logways. Hope that is clear. Let me go to the next question. Oh, there are a lot of questions here. Okay, let me try to answer all of them. So I was with Team Studios. You're the one who asked about the log wheels. Hope you understand that, right? Yes, we good. Yes, the streaming is recorded. As you, the streaming is recorded, and then you also have a time to watch it again on YouTube if you want. Okay. Mm. So Him Studios ask another question. What about the techniques which we select skin, invert selection, and add some cyan color to make the skin pop? That is another technique, and that's why I was telling you guys that you don't need to have just one technique in your bank. Let me put it that way. As a colorist, you're supposed to have as many techniques as possible. When you try one, it doesn't go. You try another one, it doesn't go. You keep trying till you get the right one that works for that image. You understand? And trust me, every professional colorist goes through these steps. Sometimes you might try one, two, or one technique, it doesn't go. You use another one. Understand? And that's what makes you professional. That you have different techniques, you know, different techniques and ideas to solve problems. It's just like a football player playing football. Sometimes if he kick ball some way, he no go go. He's gonna try another technique to kick the same ball in the same place, and it might just work. Sometimes he might kick that ball like different times to the point it doesn't enter. But one time he enters. So it's the same, almost the same thing. You have to keep trying different techniques till you get the best. But this technique you're talking about, where you have to select the skin and then add colors around, that technique, it's actually old technique. It works, but it's old. So I will not advise you to use it most times unless it really, really calls for it. You understand? It's still a nice technique, but it's very old. There are better ways to make skin pop, like I've showed you right here. There are better ways to make skin pops. So let's say, let me reset these, eh? Before that, let me just save. Let me save this. Okay. Okay. Okay, nice. So let's try your technique, eh? So your technique says you have to select the skin and then let's see, this works, and then invert it. Just invert it. Let me see. Let's invert it here. And then let's add cyan to make the skin pop, right? Come over here and say cyan. Okay. So you see this, right? See what we've done here. So now I'm using my phone to monitor what I'm doing so that I can really be exact. Okay. So look at what we're doing here. We've just added colors, added cyan, then we have selected the skin and then we inverted and then we added cyan, right? Look at how image looks without balancing. Looks kind of rough, looks kind of muddy, right? Because we have just added colors. But remember, we have to fine tune the colors. We're not adding colors till we kind of balance, okay? So let me tell you the best way I'll do this. So the best way I can go around this if I want to make the skin pop is oh, firstly, I balance the image. I'm seeing a lot of warm there. So I'll come over here and then I'll do this. Use my this technique I showed you, right? Linear. And then I'll do this. So I'm still adding cyan, but then the skin is moving with it, which is okay because we can work on the skin later, right? So you see that now we're good. Now we can see it before and after, before and after. And now we think that, okay, let's try to boost the skin up. You know, we can come over here and then Four notes. So firstly, if you take a look at the shot, you see that there's a lot of color down here on the black. So let's fix that under the lock wheel. We come over here and then we add some reds and then try to fix the range so it doesn't go up too much. So nice one. And you can add saturation like I showed you. Saturation, you add it, you know. So you see that? I'm still popping out the skin without doing going through the same process that you went through. And this is even more cleaner, you know. So this is how you approach color grading. You fine tune, you massage your images till you get what you want. Okay, nice. So let's move to the next question. mm, Colorist community, thank you very much, boss, for your response. Very professional. I wanted to know what type of camera you use. Could you explain how you light your videos? Okay, the camera I use is the red. I use the red helium 8K. I use a red helium 8K, but sometimes I use DaVinci DJI Ronin 4D, and sometimes I use the Sony GH4. It doesn't really matter. What matters is how you light and how you shoot, you know. And so, like I said, I'm also going to do a live session on cinematography breakdown so you understand how I light and how I shoot. Okay, so that will be for the next live session. And another question, why do you not just adjust white balance first? Of course, after CST conversion. So after CST, so this is my workflow. I first do my CST conversion, and then I add the Hensa film look, the Dehensa film print. I add it on my image before I start doing white balance, before I start doing exposure and all that. And the reason why I start with exposure and not white balance is because exposure will make me see the image very well. You understand? Before doing the white balance. So I have to expose, ensure that my excuse me, ensure that my image is the right exposure. Then I can see the colors that are there and then do white balance. You know, I cannot do white balance first before exposure. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, and I think this is the last questions for today. We're almost done, like 10 minutes to 2 hours. So I mean we're almost done. The last question. Learn. I see. What you say? I'm here to learn to become one of the best colorists. Definitely, you should become the best colorist if you keep working. Follow my page, follow my tutorials, ask me questions when you have them, and yeah, just keep doing you, and definitely you'll become the best colorist. That's the main thing. The main thing is you keep working, bro. Every day you should be coloring. Also, one important tip, take out time to look at other videos, study other colorists, pictures, and videos. Try to understand why they choose what they did, you know, and why they decided to go this simple or this hard on different looks, you know. Understand the mindset of different colorists so that when you're color grading, you can also, you know, add these elements into your work. So basically, that's it. Yeah, you're definitely gonna get there. So I hope I'm done with all the questions. I hope so, guys. I think so. We are almost done with the live session and it's almost 12. Let me ensure I'm sending this video to this guy. Transfer. So, guys, thank you once again for sticking out to the end. For those who love this session, hit the thumbs up, share so that other people can, join in next time and other people could watch because I'm gonna leave it online for other people to watch. Let me ensure I don't have any more questions on Facebook because I never yet checked Facebook on questions. We're going live on both Facebook and YouTube. Um, I don't see any questions on Facebook, so I'm sure it's pretty much good. So thank you guys again, and I love you guys. Stay creative, keep doing what you know how to do best, and stay blessed. Okay, we take another shot. So the next one, I'll be announcing the next one very soon. Stay alert. My name is Dr. Nkeng Stephens, aka Mr. We take another shot. Oh yeah, man. 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 Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done with the good one. With the good one. So nice having you guys here. We take another shot. See you guys next time. Okay.